Hi everyone, it's Jane with Scraptastic Yarns podcast. Today we're again in my craft room, sewing room. The living room is a little bit messy, so I'm gonna kind of stay away from there right now. I do have quite a few things that are going on downstairs. Um, we've been doing I've been doing helping with the hats, leading that charge for the hats for the children out of the nursery in UPMC. And um, we've delivered the snowman hat. They're a big success. Everyone's thrilled to death with those. And now I've started on February hats. So I have a big bag downstairs. We have someone that is homebound that has donated her efforts, and we sent her some white yarn. She does loom knit, so she did a lot of loom. All the hats are loom knit. They sent her all kinds of different baby yarns, things like that. And so she made two big um, paper grocery bags full of hats. One is multicolored hats, the other is all white. Someone at the Naughty Knitters helped me by taking half of that home to put hearts on it, on the hats. I am going to do some of that with some of those hats. Some of those hats I'll be keeping to use later on in March when we do March. March we're going to really look at Easter themes. I do need to look up some of the Muslim holidays to see what's appropriate for some of those, because there are quite a few Muslim in that area. So we want to try to make sure we get everybody incorporated, um, incorporated, included. Sometimes I wonder where my head goes, you know? Um, the The Christmas hats were successful. We had several women in the area that also donated Kwanzaa hats. And I have to admit, I didn't even think about Kwanzaa hats or even Jewish with the Star of David on them. So we will have to include that in for this year when we do it again in December. But I'm going to show you some of those hard hats that we've got going. These are some that I've made. I've got about 48 done, another two on needles. So I've got to get that done. I'll pop a cough drop in my mouth because I've got a little tickle going on. Um, these hats, these are all crocheted. Um, just add little cute little knickknacks, little hearts on them. I do have some buttons that some of them will also get additional buttons. Some of these that are in the green, that light little minted green, we want to make sure that they can be used for boy or girl. So some of those, like this one, will get an additional button, either a red heart or some kind of fancy heart button that I've got a button box full of buttons, so I'm going to be adding some of those. These, I try to leave them neutral because they can be used for boys. They can be used for anyone who doesn't have a preference on color of hats, because the baby bassinets, they do say whether they're boy or girl on them, and generally they try to add the baby's names. They do a lot of different things like that. Those are finished objects. That's it. That's all I have done, other than those other hats. Now I'm going to move on to whips, and I've gotten a little bit more done on my butterfly stitch shawl. I do have a little bit ways to go. I do hope to get that finished this week. The way that I've got it scheduled, I think I should be able to be done with all of the baby hats by tomorrow evening, if not tonight. The other thing that I have is the organization, with our Naughty Knitters run, Naughty Knitters, our Parishional group run, we do the annual knit and run with the Motorcycle Twin Club. And they also do a dinner for quite a few disabled folks from the Hope, I think it's Hope Enterprise. And every one of these people that they have this dinner for, they generally have a personal aide with them, someone to help feed them, move them around in the wheelchairs, those kind of things, do general tasks for them and with them. But the one thing they requested this year was scarves. Now they don't want just any scarf. They want scarves they can wrap around their necks. So I'm gonna start working on some more scarves. This is, the mindless garter stitch scarf. I found 2 skeins of this pretty blue, light periwinkle. So I thought, well, I'll make a big long scarf they can wrap around. The next thing that I have is really quilting. We Nancy Halverson has this book out, and we have called it the Imagine Block. They're at Hoover's in Mifflinburg, PA. They do a class where they come in and they show you different feet that can go with your Bernina machines, and you attempt to use those different feet. They had started an early start, but I just started it this year, so I'll be starting it going through this year. And it's a year long. It's 12 blocks, like you saw on the book. And this was the block that we did last month. Now, generally, when we do the block, you will just sew your fabrics together, and then use heat and bond to adhere all your items and things like that. Then you can go around and you can do, special stitches with your machine around the letters and, around the applique. A lot of the folks are just doing the block with batting and the front, because part of that is also skills, building your skills to learn to do some free motion quilting. Now, this free motion quilting was done with double needles. I've never used a double needle for free motion quilting or anywhere with sewing, so that was quite an experience. I did decide that I don't really like it for free motion quilting, mainly because I found that as I went, when you stop and start in certain areas or you hesitate, you can see that hesitation in the block. I can. A lot of people tell me they can't see it. But when you're a quilter, you're your own worst enemy because you're going to point out all the boo-boos. I have decided to do mine as a quilt as you go. So I have added a backing, and all of my blocks will get this backing to be joined together. And that is the first month's block. We'll be doing another block next month with hearts, and I'm thrilled to death. I love applique. I just don't get a chance to do it enough. With UPMC, they also have a program for the mothers at risk. I've told you about that, and we're starting to do some quilts. This is one of the quilt blocks that I'm working on for some of those babies. I've got enough quilt blocks to get started and the sashing to put in between and the back to get that going, and I will be getting that done later on this week. I just haven't had a chance to get to it. The only other thing that is a work in progress is I have a quilt that needs to be quilted, and this is for a twin size bed. You can see that I didn't have enough fabric, so we pieced the back. Give it a little bit of interest. You can use front or the back. And then, of course, it's just some of the mini squares that we cut up with all the different fabrics we get. I've got to do the free motion quilting on that. Um, I probably won't get that done until Thursday of this week, and then afterwards you'll see a picture. I do have a finished object where I've done one other one that I finished off. I'll insert a picture. Um, yeah. Now we're going to get to some fun stuff. Some yarn acquisitions. You know, I don't normally want to get yarn acquisitions because I am a yarn hoarder, and I have to admit that my life has become unmanageable with the amount of yarn in my house. However, for Christmas I got some Michaels cards, and you know, Michaels was having a great sale. I've already donated 3 skeins of Karen's Simply Soft in a dark blue, and also a large skein of loops and threads in a, I believe it's light amethyst. It's a real pretty purple. And of course they had their impeccable, you know, buy one get one free. So I did get 2 of that color, and that is Royal. I also got 2 of the clear blue, and I think this is a real pretty color of blue. I don't normally go for blues, but for some reason this year blue is really striking me, so I tend to get a lot of blue. I also got Autumn Red in the Simply Karen Simply Soft. I do have 3 of these, and I gave one to someone else to use to make some hats, some baby hats for me, because I can't make all the baby hats. They need approximately 100 every month, and I just can't do it all by myself. This weekend, my husband and I took a trip to AC Moore, and you know, I had one of those things. I'm kind of short on getting points for the $10 that you get after, you know, with their rewards program. So they had Nicole's Studio Stitch yarn on sale. So of course, you know, we're doing baby hats. You need more yarn. I mean, I have to keep the girls supplied with yarn so that we can keep doing hats. So I got 2 white. I got 1 pink. 1 blue. And next month. Do you know next month is right the beginning of Easter? Ash Wednesday is the 14th of February. Do you realize that? That's kind of crazy. And then Easter falls on April the 1st. So normally we would have thought about just doing a lot of green spring hats type things. So we're going to do bunnies for the month of March. We're going to concentrate on bunny ears and things like that. Probably some flowers too as well for spring and everything. So I got a light brown for bunny ears, which I figure we can do the bunny ears. You know, maybe some of the hat in it with the white, and then pink for the inside of the bunny ears. I don't know, my head just goes crazy when I think about some, you know, mixing and doing things. Then we stopped over at Books A Million. Now, for those of you that don't know me personally, I'm a big fan of sugar skulls. I grew up in New Mexico. I was around a lot of the festivities for the Day of the Dead, which is actually November the 1st, 2nd kind of area. But nowadays it's really popular at Halloween, those kind of things. I love sugar skulls. Well, I found a lovely sugar skull keyring, and it is hand painted by some wonderful artisan in China. I don't normally like to buy things from China, but I thank you, you state capitalist in China, for hand painting my new keyring. I love it. I'm really thrilled with it. You'll notice that the title of this actual podcast is Gauge Matters. I'm going to insert a picture of I did have another finished object, but I'm not wearing it because it's humongous. And this is why gauge matters. You know, I had friends as I was knitting it tell me, that's kind of big, Jane. And I thought, well, yeah, but it's called a big comfy sweater. So it's going to be big. Well, when I finished it, sewed up the sides, the seams, and the top, it was way big. I went back and I thought, well, I got gauge. I know I did. Got to looking at it. Looked at my gauge swatch. Had the note on it of what size needle I used. And I also had a note on there that I cast on 2 sizes larger needle. Well, I proceeded to knit the rest of that garment in that 2 sizes too big needle. So, later on this week, I'm planning to do something. I'm not ripping it out, because I hate to do purls. I have to get over that. I'm going to have to learn to get over that. But I hate purling. So, one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to do it like you do steeking. Now, normally when you steek an item, it is done in stockinette knit stitch. As you know, the top part of the big comfy sweater has a lot of garter stitch in it because you're doing ridges and in with the stockinette stitch, so it makes this, lovely little pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it out here on my quilting table, going to lay a sweater on top of it that I know fits the way I want it to, going to take black yarn and a needle, going to run up the sides of it while it's inside out, run up the sides, giving myself, a little bit of room on each side because it is a big comfy sweater. So I'm going to run that up along the sides and down those arms. Then I'm going to do it again about a 1/2 inch from that on the outer side again. And then I'm going to sew it with my sewing machine. Then I'm going to cut it. And then I'm going to pull out all those little lovely ends that are going to be flip-flopping and coming out. And then I'm going to take my machine and I'm going to do an overcast stitch along the edge of that sweater. I just can't knit it again. Just can't do it. Not going to do it. Not going to rip it out. That's it for this episode. I will show you pictures of the finished item with me in it, and you can see how big it is. I will be, next week, I will be posting, I'll do another video, but I'm going to do just pictures of each step as I go so you can see what I did. When you get to sewing on the sewing machine, when you're working with a knit or a sweater material, use parchment paper underneath it. It comes right out, peels out. You have no issues with it, so it works fine. So with that, I'm going to say so long. See you next time. Bye.